This excavator used to live on Yukon Island, which is where Findlay got his name from, Findlay Abbott, who lived on Yukon Island. This one was part of the Abbott family. My friend Brian had it for a lot of years. Unfortunately, they had to retire it because the track system broke, and they knew that there really wasn't a lot of people in the area that would be able to salvage this thing because the whole swing frame basically cracked in half. And I took it and totally rebuilt the track frame. It's called the swing frame. I totally rebuilt the swing frame on both sides, cut all the metal off of it, the rusty metal, because it was living close to a beach, and I totally rebuilt it. I didn't need 3 excavators, and I know I can always borrow it back if I need to. So I took the time, fixed it, sold it to my friend Chris. I got some money and put it towards property development, bought a whole lot of gravel, built a driveway, built a parking pad, property improvement on the homestead. So that's pretty freaking cool. But in the process of doing that, I forgot to fix the blade. That's what I'm doing now, is I'm welding up the blade on this excavator and making it so he can actually blade gravel with it. That was kind of part of our agreement, and I totally spaced it out to move on to other things. So that's what we're working on now, and let's get back to it, and let's see what the Kilchers do. This is the bottom of the blade, actually, and the guys that had it before, it had worn off the bottom to the point where that metal started to separate, and then it just got peeled back from pushing on things. So
You've been yakking all day, you're gonna hit this thing.
We got that all straightened out, which is pretty cool. I'm gonna take it out of here so I can do some grinding on it outside of the shop, because the grinding is gross. Fire up the little excavator here. Okay, so this lip here, this whole lip needs to come off and get replaced with some new hardened steel. So I'm gonna get my grinder in here, probably my big demolition saw, and go in here and cut out all this weld. I gotta do a bunch of grinding with some discs. They're phenolic resin discs. Anytime you're doing grinding, you really don't want to be breathing that stuff. Better ventilation outside. I'm also gonna be wearing a respirator. It's actually a forced air system, so it's not even filtered air, but it's actually fresh filtered air from outside my shop, out the back, where on the opposite side of the building from where I'm gonna be doing the grinding. So it should keep my airway safe. I know you guys on Alaska The Last Frontier used to give me a lot of heck all the time for safety glasses. This is definitely one of those situations. So I got all my PP&E put together, and let's get to it. Here it is. Here's the piece I cut off. There it is. Bah, bah, bah. And so it was basically all along this edge, and is what that was. They call that a grater blade or something like that. And it basically is, you know, when you're driving down a road, using the blade of a piece of machinery, you're not wearing down the actual, well, you're wearing down the blade, but it's like it's intentionally like a wear surface of a really, really hard piece of steel. So that's what I need to replace on this thing, because the whole underside basically wore off. So I just cut that whole piece off, ground it down. You probably noticed when I'm using it, I kind of have the spark spraying between my legs most of the time. That's because if you're not paying attention, all the sparks hitting your pant leg will absolutely light your pants on fire. And unfortunately, I've done that more times than I would even care to count. It's something to watch out for if you're using a demolition saw to cut steel. You know, there's some hazards associated. So always eye protection, respiration. looking at the finished blade. I think it looks pretty dang good. Definitely all solid. Here you can see the new bolt-on edge that I put on there. We just took it for a spin and everything is holding up perfect. I think this project is a win. At this point, I think the blade is all fixed. I got a new cutting edge welded onto the front of this blade, and I actually ended up plating the whole underside of it with 1/4-inch steel as well. So all those holes that we were welding up underneath of it and having to bang back in place, that's all straightened out and actually plated with all new steel. So at this point, this thing is ready to go to work. I just knocked the track off of this thing. I know better than that. Got almost 20 years driving excavators and I just popped the track off. Such a drag, now I need to fix that. It's not terrible, but it takes a few hours. A few hours that I don't want to take. Putting the track back on the excavator. Super bummed off at myself right now. See, you can see here, this rail here is supposed to be under the machine and it's popped off of the front idler. That's not good. Popped off the front idler. That's the front roller wheel on the front of the track. I knocked it off of there. It can be fixed. It's not too big a deal, but I mean, I don't have the tools, I don't have the stuff, I don't have anything here to do it, so now I need to fix that. And that's a drag because I didn't really want to take the time to do that. I was just taking this for a test drive. Found out that the track was a little loose, and now because I made a turn, I popped it off. Now I got to pay the price, which is a drag. All right, I got to go get tools. Probably Chris's help. So I am going to my shop. I got to help Chris put that excavator track back on his excavator because that's it's definitely something I need to do. So I'm just here to kind of round stuff up, get some of the bits and pieces that I'm going to need for putting the track back on the excavator. So let's take a look at what we're going to need. Overalls going to be laying on the ground. The come along, you know, a little hand winch. I think that's going to be pretty essential. I got a chain. We can use that. Pry bar. Boom. And I'm gonna have to let a whole bunch of the grease out too. So I've got grease in my grease gun, my electric grease gun. Ooh, I gotta make sure I got a fresh battery. That's definitely one thing I need. This is where I keep my batteries. I got a charger right here on the wall. Grab that one, put another one on. Oh, that's half the problem half the time, isn't it? Is that you don't actually have a charged battery when you need it. It's always a struggle for me to remember to put the dead batteries on the charger. Grease gun. This grease gun is a total mess. Oh my God, it is like the messiest, one of the messiest tools I have. So I always have gloves around. Those gloves are messy, but I got some fresh gloves too, so I think that's gonna make a big difference. Just pulling up to Chris's now, so park here. This is okay. I'm just gonna go all the way up to his house. Sometimes water trucks and big vehicles got to get by, so if I park on the road there, it could be difficult for those things to get around. So I'm just going all the way up here to his place. There's his barn. Back at the scene of the crime. Honestly, it's been like 10 days or maybe more since I was here, which kind of sucks because Chris hasn't been able to use his excavator. Fortunately, he has a full-time job too, so stuff to keep him busy. And the ground is actually kind of frozen still underneath, but now's the time. We've got to get it going, and that's what we're here to do. Here you can see this track is supposed to be over that front wheel, so in order to get it back on, I actually gotta we gotta relieve the pressure in this wheel, and there's kind of a hydraulic cylinder in there that's all full of grease. So we're gonna crack a nut over here and then push back on that, and that will push that front wheel called the idler back. It'll poop out a whole bunch of grease, but then we'll be able to actually get the track back over the front wheel. We got it flowing. See that? Now it's flowing out of there.
Yeah, we're there.
I think that's all we're gonna get out of there. But that's great. That's a whole pile of grease. Now we got that roller pushed back. As you can see here, the roller wheel is pushed back a bunch, so that should make it so we can get the track back over the wheel.
Weighs like 20 pounds, right?
What's that?
20 pounds.
20 pounds? Yeah. Okay, should we try to pick it up? Flop it over now. We gotta get some of that slack off the bottom. Sometimes you can. Sometimes you can't.
Oh, there you go. That helps a little bit. Now you're kind of on the wheel. What if you rotated it and I pushed on it?
Yep, that might work. Okay, ready?
There we go. Oh yeah. Here we go.
That's it. Yes. Nailed it, Chris. Now we just gotta pump it back up. So nice. All tightened up, put back on. Next thing that needs to happen to this machine is we actually need to get these track rails changed out. Part of the reason that the track came off of this excavator was because these track rails, the chain it's also called, is so worn out, it's really sloppy, and it's got a lot of this side to side kind of sway in there. And the only way to keep the tracks from falling off as long as they're really tight all the time, which that in turn is hard on the tensioner. So we need to get these swapped out here pretty soon, and let's save that part for another day though. We got the track put back on. Now Chris gets to take it for a test drive. This is actually the first time he's driving it yet this spring, so that is super exciting. Look at that thing go! Oh yeah. The blade's tearing right into the ground like it's supposed to. Track looks nice and snug. I'd say this is a win. If you like this episode, please make sure to hit the subscribe button and share. I want to say thank you to everybody that does that and everybody that just watches the videos, because it helps justify the time to make it happen. We'll see you on the next one. As I like to say, maybe I didn't do it the right way, but I also didn't do it the wrong way. Somewhere in between is the Kilcher way. We'll see you next time.